back, everyone. Episode 8, Parent Trap. Mike here, BCBA. Thanks for joining me, tapping in this morning to get our day started. Today, got a whole new kind of direction for us. Still kind of following that process that we started, 7 weeks ago now. And so, like I mentioned, always mentioned before, everything's cumulative, right? And so today is just going to be building upon all the ideas, all of the work we've put in for these last 7 weeks, and we're just going to keep on going, right? We have to climb that ladder. We have to keep it pushing, even though times are rough and things might get worse before they get better. But I still want to provide you guys with knowledge, so when you are able to get to that point, you are feeling, you are feeling like you can do it. You're feeling empowered. You're feeling courageous. You're feeling that you can take that next step with the information that I provided. And so we're just going to keep it going here. Today, I don't think it'll be too long. And like I said, I don't want to keep you guys too long. So let's jump on into it. So today we're going to be talking about prompting, routines, and schedules. Those three ideas and those three kind of talking points are going to increase our children's overall independence. They're going to decrease what we have to do as parents. It's going to make life a little bit more simple for you, the more you do it and the more you use it and strategize it or kind of plug it in throughout your day. With those kind of three ideas, it's going to become pretty evident and pretty simple on how to adjust, how to kind of implement, and how to work around things that might be interrupting your day. And so the first one I wanted to talk about with you guys is that since we are going to always have in the back of our mind that we want set our children up for success, then I want to talk about our routines. Our daily routines are so important because everybody wakes up with a purpose, right? We don't just wake up and just shoot blanks all over the place, right? Hoping to do this, hoping to do that, hoping to hit this target, hoping to do that. We always should have a plan for our day to meet that goal. So whether it's 5 goals that day, hey, let's wake up and how are we going to get to those 5 goals? The same thing works for our children and our kids as well too, right? We want a routine that's going to help them succeed, that has the least obstacles to it, because we want them to flourish, we want them to succeed, we want them to do well in everything that they enter into today, right? And so by setting up our routine, I want you guys to look out, how am I setting up my children's routine to be most successful? Because when we set up our routine to be most successful with the less hiccups, then that makes our day as parents go a little bit easier. And it also makes the children's day go a little bit easier as well, because now they know that what they have to do, they're becoming confident Monday through Friday on what they have to do and what needs to get done. And then it becomes just embedded in them. Okay, cool. I have to brush my teeth, wash my face, fix my bed, get dressed, eat my oatmeal, put on my backpack, tie my shoes, come home, eat a snack, do my chores, nighttime routine, whatever it is. We want that routine kind of set out for our children. And so by making that routine, all this, like I said, is going to increase their overall independence while decreasing what we have to do in our daily routine. And so when I talk to parents doing the parent coaching and the parent consultations, is a lot of them feel kind of pulled every which way, right? So they feel like I have to go pick out his pajamas, or I have to put the toothpaste on the toothbrush and brush his teeth, but I'm not ready yet, or I still have to do my makeup, I have to get on my work clothes, I have to make sure that the breakfast is getting made, or different things like that I hear parents are struggling with throughout their daily routine. Are those type of things that I constantly, I would say, hear on a weekly basis. So by making a routine not only for our children, we also inherently make a routine for ourselves as right too. We make a routine for ourselves as well. And so by making that routine, it makes it easier for us to get done what we need to do as well. And I know I mentioned a few episodes ago, both with A Mother's Tears and with A Family's Pivot, that mom and that family was so controlled by the children's behavior that she forgot what normalcy was. She forgot that, okay, cool, I can get ready. I can put on makeup today. I can clean up the house. She was so pulled by the child's behavior that she forgot who she was as a person, who she was outside of being a mother, and started to, over those 8 years, morph into enabling. She started morphing into someone who was allowing her child to pull her back and forth on a string, as I had mentioned. And so going back to today's topic of creating that routine, a routine is going to break that string, right? It's going to sever that tie that's not needed. And so the routine is only going to be based on what our child is capable of, right? So we're not going to tell our kiddos to tie their shoes when they're barely able to manipulate fine motor objects, right? We're not going to tell them to get dressed if they have any gross motor or balance issues. So we want to make sure our routine is based upon the capabilities of our children and their capabilities to succeed. And only you guys know that. So you guys know what you've seen your child do before and what they can't do. So in our routine, in our morning, we can do 3 sections, right? We can do morning, after school or afternoon, and then nighttime routine. Whatever your family does or whatever dynamic you guys have, or whatever guidelines you want or your family follows, implement those in those 3 blocks, in those 3 areas. Make it simple, right? You want to make it as simple as possible, because if you're confused or if you're struggling with it, then guess what? Your child is going to struggle with it too. So just start off small, right? Do 3 routines up top, 3 routines in the middle, and then 3 routines at the very end. And that'll set up your structure for the day. And by making that routine, in between those routines, you're able to do what you need to do. So at night, if you need to cook dinner, at night, if you have to start your homework, or if you have to do other different things as a mother or father, you've embedded those inherently into your routine because you've already made a routine for your child. And so as they're following their routine, you're also doing the same. You're going to have it outlined for yourself as well, and that's going to work on your self-care. That's going to work on your self-worth. That's going to increase all the capabilities that you have within yourself that may have been suppressed due to enabling or over prompting, with your child in those situations. So create a routine. Create something daily, on a daily basis that your child will succeed with, which also you'll succeed with, coincidentally as well too. So create that routine, make it stick, keep it simple, and work through it on a daily basis, which we said we want to set our children up for success in that area as well too. The second thing that we have are our schedules. So our schedules are similar to routines, but I also tell parents our schedule is also going to be adjusted toward, once again, the capabilities or the understanding of our children. And so I know some parents on here do have children on the spectrum, some don't. But for our children that are on the spectrum who may have, visual issues, or may have, or are great with sight words but can't verbalize, or that are great with more kinesthetic, more grabbing and pulling and putting things away, we can create all types of schedules for them. And so the most, I would say, typical one would be a written out schedule, right? So you have, in the morning, you have to do 1, 2, and 3. For our kiddos who like to be more kinesthetic, I tell parents, hey, grab some Velcro and some laminate. Laminate the task or chores that you want for them to do, so when they're done, they can pull it off and they can put it in an envelope, or they can put it to the side. It's more of that feeling of, okay, cool, I can snatch this off, get rid of it, and put it away. And that's going to be very beneficial for our kiddos who do like that kind of that input, right? That do kind of like the feeling of, all right, I can take it off the board, it's done, I don't even have to think about it again. And that one is going to be something that you guys can utilize as well on your schedules as well too. To make it fun, you can have your children help you create the daily schedule. So you can say, hey, we have 5 items on here today that I need you to complete. I'll let you pick 3. You can write them down, post them, laminate them, Velcro them. You can do anything that you want to do, but I need you to do these 3 things today, but you can pick. Right, and so I know I've talked about that. I think it was in our antecedent strategies where we're giving them choices, right? It's a forced choice, but it's still giving them the sense or illusion of control. Say, hey, I got 5 non-preferred things I need you to do today, but hey, I'm gonna give you the power. I'm gonna only let you do 3. And so the kiddo's like, all right, most likely they're gonna pick the one with the least response effort, and they're going to pick those 3, but they're going to map out their routine. Now they're going to be responsible for what they picked out throughout the day, and you can also work that into the end of the day, right? Say, hey man, you picked out 3 items. I didn't pick them. You chose them, but you didn't complete them. So what's going on? How can we make this better next time, or what are some consequences that we need to put in effect maybe tomorrow if you don't complete those? And so by giving them accountability, that's also increasing independence, right? So by letting them know hey, you picked those, you didn't follow through with what you said you were going to do. And so we both agreed that if you didn't do those, then there's going to be no more telephone time, or there's going to be no more iPad time, or no more video game time. So hey, maybe we could try again tomorrow. I'll give you some more choices, and then next time we can see if you meet that criteria to gain your reinforcement or gain those things that you want access to. So definitely by putting the accountability onto our kiddos that are receptively understand what we're talking about, or receptively know what's expected of them, then we can set that accountability factor, and we can also set that reinforcement factor as well too, because they work in unison, right? If you're not accountable to do what you said that you were going to do, then I'm going to have to provide the necessary consequence to hopefully fix that behavior in the future, or manage that behavior better in the future. And so by creating that schedule, whether it is you doing it for your child, or them kind of setting it up for themselves, that goes along with our routine, right? So you have your routine A, B, C, and D, right? Okay, hey Johnny, you can pick A, B, C, D, or E, but make sure you put it on your schedule and now hold yourself accountable to what you wrote down this morning. And so by creating that routine and that schedule, like I said, all of that is increasing our kiddos' independence. It's increasing their autonomy. It's increasing their sense of self-worth and self-confidence, right? So hey, eventually, 2 weeks later, a month later, 2 months later, parents, you guys are just going to write, hey, these are the 5 things you need to get done today. Maybe put it on the board, on the chalkboard, on the refrigerator, on the kiddo's wall, their door, and you're gonna start doing what you need to do for the day. You're gonna start getting ready for work. You're gonna start maybe cooking breakfast. You're going to maybe start focusing on a little more, like I said, self-care, or getting yourself ready for the day, instead of constantly coming in, okay, let me put on your clothes. Okay, cool, let me brush your teeth. Okay, cool, now let's put on your socks. Okay, now let's help. We're gonna stop that. And so by scheduling that routine and scheduling making that schedule, you're going to not only increase or decrease what you have to do, but we're increasing what our children can do as well too. And I know, like I said, a lot of this does sound, and what I hear from some parents is it sounds kind of like tic-tac, right? Or kind of very kind of just like picking at little things here and there. But like I say, it's always the big picture. Right, so when our kiddos go to college, you're not going to be next door with them, right? You're not going to be in the locker room with the kids. You're not going to be next to them in the classroom when their professor is talking. And so it starts today with those little things. It starts today by giving them the autonomy, or giving them accountability, which is a huge word for some of our kiddos that understand it, to do what they said that they wanted to do or that they needed to do. And by giving them a sense of self, by giving them self-worth and confidence that they can and will do these things, then that's going to generalize over into school. That's going to generalize over into the workforce, where the manager's like, all right, guys, we have 10 tasks that we have to do today. Let's do it before our shift is over. That's the same thing as you saying, 5 years ago, hey, I need you to create your routine for the day and make sure we get it done by the end of the night. That's the same thing, right? Same correlation between what mom and dad said to what maybe our boss said, or what our manager said, or what our team member said, maybe if it's in sports or in the warehouse or in the office. And so it's bigger than just, being kind of nitpicking on, okay, cool, you can do it, do this, do that. It's deeper than that. And that's always what I say with ABA, is that it's deeper than just ABA, because it goes beyond, what we can teach at home, but we want it to generalize out into the community as well too. And then the last thing that I have for you guys today, which is a little bit hardy. So this might take me to my 20+ minute cap, but it's all good because you guys are used to it. Prompting, right? And so prompting is what we do to increase and or decrease independence, right? And so since we're focusing on increasing independence, prompting, we're going to have to be using the most least intrusive as possible. And I'll show you guys here soon and go over with you guys the prompting hierarchy that we're going to use, but let me kind of break it down a little bit what prompting is first. So prompting is just giving little hints, little reminders, little nudges, right, on, hey, this needs to be done. This is how you do this. It's maybe a simple tap on the shoulder to start the movement for our kiddos to start grabbing the pencil. It might be just a gesture prompt on to, hey, that needs to be taken out. It may be a verbal a reminder on, hey, don't forget to do blah, 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 right? And so that prompting is just a little nudge, just a little push on giving our kiddos information on what's next or what's expected of them, right? And so it clues them in on what to do next in a certain scenario or situation. And so why do we prompt? We prompt to increase independence. We prompt to reduce our frustration as well. And we prompt in hopes to increase overall acquisition of that skill. And so we're prompting at certain times. We don't just prompt whenever I feel like it, or whenever the time's right, or whenever they're struggling, or whenever I'm tired of hearing them yell or scream. We have to be intentional when we prompt. Because if we're not intentional, then we're just using prompting and we're not setting the kid up for success. We're enabling them, or we're handicapping them in certain situations. So your prompts have to be intentional. And you should only prompt at the very beginning of a new task, right? So I'm going to prompt heavily if I'm teaching my kiddo how to tie his shoes because he's never tied his shoes before. I'm going to fade that prompt generally as he gets better. I'm not going to, and I'll give you a quick example and it'll make sense here in a second. I'm not going to fully physically prompt my child who's been tying their shoes for a year now, right? That doesn't make sense because for a year, they've shown progress. So why am I still full physically prompting a year later when they've shown progress and they don't need that prompting strategy, or they don't need that prompting assistance? So we want to use our prompting skills intentionally and purposefully based upon our kiddos' acquisition or their capabilities. And I've said it a couple times before, but if I've seen you doing once, I'm not going to use the most intrusive prompt to help you do it again. Personally, I'm not going to prompt at all because I've seen you do it before. And so now there's where that accountability comes in. That's where that self-confidence comes in. That's where I might be a hard ass about it, but I've seen you do it before. I just want to see you do it again, right? I know you're capable of it. You can do it. So why do I need to prompt? Let me go work on, doing something. Let me finish his emails. Let me go answer this phone call really quick because you can do it, because I've seen you do it before. What's wrong with that? And I think sometimes parents feel like the need to, or that nurturing side, whether it's the father or the mother, to kind of jump in and do it for the kiddos when we've seen them do it before. It's okay to let them struggle because they're going to struggle in the real world without you. But we want to set them up now with the little things of tying their shoes so they're able to succeed later on in life. So let them struggle, let them figure it out, because yesterday they did it perfectly. Their friend was outside, and I guarantee you, because their friend was outside, they tied their shoes in 15 seconds. Now today, they're having an issue tying their shoes because their friends aren't outside and we have to go run some errands, right? So that reinforcement or that motivation could be a trigger on how fast they do it, or if they want to do it, or if they're going to manipulate parents into doing what they want you to do in that moment because they really don't want to do what's coming up next. Right? And so I talked to you guys about reinforcement and motivation. We're all motivated by something, right? And so if our kiddo's motivated to go play with their friends, he's going to tie his shoes within 10 seconds. But if you have a Target trip, you have a doctor's appointment, you're going to see maybe grandma that, the kiddo doesn't really care about or want to go see, I can guarantee they're not going to tie their shoes in a timely manner, or they're going to ask you for assistance or prompting in that situation. And so, like I said, I may be a Scrooge, I may be a Grinch about it, but I want to prepare our children for the outside world, because as you heard me mention before, they don't care that, they have autism. They don't care that they're on the spectrum or they have comorbidities. Our kiddos aren't walking around with a badge that says, hey, I'm special. Hey, I have ASD. Hey, I have sensory processing disorder. I have different disabilities. Treat me different. As much as hopeful as we are in this world, we've heard the news. We've seen things that it doesn't work like that. So let's do what we can in home to prevent that as best as we can out in the real world. And so the next one I'm going to go over, you guys, is the prompting hierarchy, right? And so that prompting hierarchy, I'm going to keep it simple for you guys and not go into all the strategies that you may hear or may see or utilize in ABA. But the simple ones from most intrusive to least intrusive, we're going to start with physical prompting. So physical prompting, you're going to have full physical and you're going to have partial physical, right? And so full physical prompting is literally you may be going hand over hand, teaching your kiddo, okay, cool, let's grab the pencil and let's start writing our name. Let's grab that paper on the floor and let's put it in the trash can. So literally going hand, over wrist, whatever you wanted to use, and guiding them into certain situations or guiding them to complete certain tasks. The next one we're going to do is a partial physical. And so partial physical could just be tapping their elbow to grab the pencil, tapping their elbow to grab the piece of paper that's on the floor. And so we're not going to go full physical where it's most intrusive, where you're literally guiding their hand this way or that way, but we're fading our prompts, right? And so we're tapping the shoulder, we're tapping the wrist to get them started. And so that's a fade in itself to phase to something more that's least intrusive. And then we're going to go up that ladder, we're going to go to a model prompt. And so a model prompt is literally you're next to them, you pick up the paper and you put it in the trash, and they model that specific behavior as well. You model how to pick up your pencil and start writing, they imitate that skill exactly. And so by doing that, once again, we faded from a full physical hand over hand, from a partial physical, maybe tapping the elbow, to a model prompt. So within those 3 prompts, you're going to start fading. Like I said, we're always going up that ladder to be or least intrusive. And so the next one we have is going to be a visual prompt. And so you're visually going to either write it out for them. You're usually going to show them like, okay, cool, whether it's we call it a task analysis, and I think I'll get into that next week, but it's a visual cues on what to do next. So you're not even present, but they're following the visual cues on, okay, cool, grab the pencil. There's a picture of a person grabbing a pencil. There's a picture of a person starting to write their name. There's a multiple step process on someone, little snapshots of someone picking up a paper and putting it in the trash, since we're only going with those 2 examples today. You're going to create a visual stimulus for them to look at or for them to see, because like I said, we're fading our prompts, so we don't even have to be there anymore. And so that's the next step that's up on the prompting hierarchy. And then the next one's going to be gestural. Okay, so we have a pencil and a paper right next to us, and we're just pointing to it. Okay, usually gesturals you can pair with verbal, which is our last one. So you can say, hey, get started on your homework. Hey, pick up that trash. So those 2 kind of work in tandem, right? So you can point and say it, and so they're getting both of those prompts kind of embedded in one. So by doing those and working up that ladder is going to help you increase our children's independence and also decrease what we have to do as parents. And so the last one is verbal, which, like I said, is the least intrusive. So hey, don't remember to do steps 1 and 2. Don't remember to pick up that trash before you leave the area. Don't forget to write out those 4 or 5 words that you need to do for your homework. And so that's literally the least intrusive that we can do from where we started off as hand over hand, right? Hand over hand, partial physical, right? We're going to model for them. We're going to create a visual that they can look out and that they can see. We're going to gesture to whatever needs to be done. And then we're going to give them that verbal. And so there's so many more that you can kind of go into in ABA. But like I said, I don't want to be too dorky about it or get you guys too confused. So we're going to keep it in layman's terms. I'm going to keep it simple. And so I gave you guys probably 6 prompts that you can utilize throughout your day, throughout each task, to help build that independence, to help build that self-confidence within our children, and also overall decrease what you have to do as parents in those situations. And so by going up and down that letter, you heard me mention the word fading. So we're going to fade our prompts. Fading our prompts is, is super important, because by fading our prompts, we're increasing our kiddos' overall acquisition, and we're fading what we have to do, or we're fading how involved that we need to be, or that we think we need to be in those situations, right? And so if we're doing full physical for 2 weeks, then maybe that 3rd week, I'm going to try modeling. I'm going to fade my prompts. I'm going to fade myself out of the situation to set my child up for success. And then after that model prompt, maybe for 2 weeks, then maybe a week later, I'm going to try visual. I think he's catching on pretty well, or I think she's doing pretty good. I'm going to just go to a verbal next month. And so you guys are going to play up and down that ladder, always depending on what your child is capable of and what they are showing throughout that process. We're never just going to take my word for and say, do it every 2 weeks. No, if our kiddo's ready to fade prompts in 5 days, fade it. Let's see if they can do the next one by themselves. If our kiddo is showing that they're able to fade, it takes a little bit longer, and maybe it takes 6 weeks. Okay, it takes as long as it takes. And now let's fade it, and let's see if we can go up that ladder, right? And then the thing about that is, parents, I always tell you guys, and I tell my teams as well too, is that don't be afraid to go up and down that ladder. If we start with physical and we're like, hey, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling confident, I think they can do it. Let's go from physical to gestural and see if they get it. And they fail, okay, well, let's go back down to maybe modeling, or let's go back down to physical. We always want to use the prompt that was most effective the last time. So full physical was effective, or partial physical was effective yesterday. We're not going to drop down to full physical because it worked with partial physical. We're not going to increase our prompts when we know he's at this level. We always want to go up that ladder. We never want to go down unless we have to, or unless it's necessary. So you're going to fade as dependent on the acquisition of your child and their capabilities and what they've shown to you over time. So if you need to go up and maybe you're too ambitious, then don't be afraid to drop back down. If you have to drop back down, don't stay there too long, and then just go up to that next ladder or go up to that next step, right? Because we want our kiddos to be most independent as much as they can without us, because like I said, it's deeper than just today. It's deeper than just the pencil, the paper, the tying shoes, the brushing teeth. It's going to affect us over time when they get older, as they generalize these over different settings, people, and environments, right? And so the last thing that I want to mention for you guys is I want you guys to be careful. And I always tell parents this in my coaching and consultations is there's 3 things that I want you guys to look at within yourselves, look at in the grand scheme of things, and to zoom out. And so that's what my coaching sessions are about. I'm zooming out so you guys can see the big picture. So you guys can see what you might be needing some adjustment with, or what you may be doing well with. That's my job, to highlight that for you guys. And so the first one I want you guys to be leery of and to be hyper vigilant on is your prompt dependency. So our kiddos are good. Some of our kiddos are great manipulators. Some of our kiddos like to use our parents and manipulate them in ways to get done what they don't want to do. So, hey mom, I need you to help me get dressed. I just need you standing here right next to me. I just need you to to help me just get started. And like I said, our kiddos are going to do what's ever easiest for them. And so if it's easier for me to yell and call mom and get them upstairs to help me, I'm going to do that every single day of the week until my parents tell me no, or until my parents are like, no, you can do it, or you figure it out, right? And so that actually takes me back to something else. Prompting is only going to work, or your child's success and how fast they go up and down that ladder is going to depend on how I usually tell parents it's only going to work until you're tired of doing it. And so until you're tired of wiping your kid's butt, until you're tired of getting down on your hands and knees and tying their shoes, until you're tired of getting them dressed, brushing their teeth, making their bed, that is going to be the trigger until they start doing it themselves. If you're fine with doing that, if you're fine with doing it, then you're going to have a 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old yelling at you up and down the stairs, hey, mom, I need you to do this. Hey, mom, I need you to do that. When there's no deficits, there's no delays, they're just using you, right? They're manipulating you because they know they can. So I tell parents that, hey, when you put your foot down, and when you say, hey, no, you can do this, you figure it out, that's when the progress happens. And so we want to take that out, and that's that prompt dependency, right? We want to eliminate that prompt dependency, because if they feel that they have to depend on you as a mother or a father, then they're never going to get the skills that they need. They're never going to increase their overall acquisition at that certain task or that certain goal. So when you say, nope, you figure it out. Nope, I've given you the skills. Now you know what you have to do and you need to do it. If it takes 5 minutes, great. If it takes 3 hours, as we've seen with, that family that I've kind of highlighted for you guys, and it is what it is, right? I still have to do what I need to do. I know you can do this, so figure it out, right? And like I said, I might be a hard ass about it, or it might sound, kind of hard, or, it might be maybe insensitive, but we want to set our children up for success. I'd rather be insensitive and hard in home than have somebody else do it to, my child or your child out in the community. Because we can control those variables and we can explain, hey, this is why I expect this from you, because I've seen you do it before and I know you can do it. And so that's why I did that. We can have a talk about it, versus somebody in the community that's insensitive or hard, that just says what they says and they walk away. And now your child is feeling devalued. Your child is feeling upset because someone talked to them in a manner that they've never heard before, or that they are not understanding why that person did what they did or talked how they talked. Let's do it in home. Let's prepare them for the real world, because in the outside world, there is no explanation sometimes. There is no person that's going to sit down with them and let them know, like, hey, this is why I did this, or this is why I spoke to you in this type of manner. So let's do this now when we can control it in the home and set them up for success later. The second thing is, I want you guys, like I said, to be leery of that ladder. I don't want you to over prompt or under prompt. I don't want you to over prompt, meaning that if you've seen your child has made it all the way through a model prompt, then let's not over prompt and just jump into a full physical if we've seen them successful at that model prompt area. But let's not under prompt as well too. And by under prompting, I mean, if our child is struggling at tying his shoes, let's not just say, okay, do it again, try it again, or a verbal and gestural, keep going. Oh no, do this next. Maybe we need to do a full physical, right? So if they're just learning how to do it, or maybe it's day 3 or day 4 and they're still struggling, then maybe let's not under prompt and use the least intrusive. Let's maybe drop down to the middle or the most intrusive, so we can set them up for success. We can show them what's needed to succeed with this specific task. And so make sure, like I said, it all depends on what your child is capable of and what they're showing throughout those tasks and throughout those steps. And so just be leery of the over and under prompting when you are kind of engaging in that hierarchy throughout each and every task that you're using it with. And then the last one, what I want to talk to you guys about, is enabling and handicapping. Right, and I know I talked to you guys with, like I said, a mother's tears and a family's pivot. Is for 8 years that family what was enabling their son's behavior, and I didn't have to say that. Mom told me that the first day when she was crying. She said, "Hey, for 8 years I've been enabling my son, and that's wrong." And I told her it's not wrong. It's just you weren't knowledgeable of it. Now that we're knowledgeable of it, like Maya Angelou says, know better, do better. So now you know better, and now let's do better. Let's do what's better for our child, right? Let's increase his let's increase his independence. He doesn't need me. And plus, I don't want to be here every single day helping him get dressed, brush his teeth, clean his turtle's habitat, and make his bed. I don't want to do that. I want to focus on myself. I want to get ready for my day. I want to play with maybe my other son. I want to, fix the food. I want to get the household ready. And so that enabling and handicapping is something that I find a lot with mothers throughout these parent coaching sessions, is that they have difficulties with, where they're feeling that nurturing side, I want to be there for my son, I want to be there for my daughter, at their beck and call, but hey, at what sacrifice? You know, at what point are we going to take care of ourselves as parents and mothers and fathers and do what we need to do while giving and setting the expectations for what our children have to do as well too. And so, I want you guys just to be cautious of that. Are we enabling or are we handicapping? And I think I told you guys a story during a co-parenting consultation that I had. I told parents that, hey, give me the steps of your child tying their shoes. And I think the child was maybe 4 or 5 at the moment. And mom was like, yeah, full physical prompts. I help him kind of put his shoe on, tie his shoes, lace him up, loop and swoop and pull, all that. And then I was like, all right, cool. So dad, where are you at? And dad's like, oh, he does it by himself when he's with me. And so I look at mom and dad, and then they look at each other. And okay, one is maybe handicapping them, and one is has different expectations of them, right? Based upon the child's capability. So maybe dad should say, hey, hey mom, or hey wife, whatever. Hey, Dave can do that. I've seen him tie his shoes this past week. I don't even have to help him with his shoes. Now mom has that expectation, and so mom should not be helping on her hands and knees help Dave tie his shoes over and over again because he can do it, right? He does it with dad. Why can't he do it with mom? It should be the same, right? And so that's also a breakdown in communication with parents, which I talk about, but also setting expectations of our children as well too. And so that's it for today. The 3 things I want you guys to take away is your routines, right? Let's wake up with a purpose. Let's wake up and be intentional, and let's wake up and get it done. The second one is our schedule. Whatever your child needs, let's adapt to it. It's not too hard to buy some laminate and some Velcro, go to Hobby Lobby, get you some supplies and utensils really quick, and make it easier for our child. If we need a Paw Patrol background, let's do it. If we need a Disney themed magnets or tiles, let's do it. If we need anything to make your life a little bit easier in the stressful moments, let's do it. So let's do that. Schedule a routine, schedule, and then prompting, right? Be careful how you prompt and when you prompt. We know the purpose of prompting is to nudge or to push, but let's not push too much or push too little. Let's meet our kiddos right in the middle. We want to increase overall independence, not only in home, but in the future, right? We want to think big picture. Let's zoom out. Let's be hyper focused on what we can control in the home, because like I said, in that real world, more than likely it's not going to matter, or they're not going to be as careful or precise with your child in that type of setting. So with those 3 things, hope you guys take that to heart. Hope you guys start utilizing it, whatever it's need. Like I said, these are great because it gives you as parents time, right? It gives you some relief. You're able to breathe a little bit. You're able to, do the things that you need to do. So work on those routines, those schedules, and working up and down that prompting hierarchy. Any questions or comments, leave it in the comment section. Let me know. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all those things. I appreciate it. I'll see you guys next week.